Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Public Works Podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman. Today, got a real treat for you. Her name is Jenny Tomes, and she is the Assistant Manager, Community Outreach at the City of Port St. Lucie in beautiful Florida. Jenny, say what's up to everybody.
Yes. Hey, everybody. I know that's a mouthful, but
It is.
Port St. Lucie is located on the East Coast. So we're north of Miami, yet south of Daytona Beach, if that gives you
Okay,
perspective. Yeah.
okay. So right in the hurricane area.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
we might talk about some of that in the future.
Okay.
Okay, so and again, I love these titles because they're so vague. You know, you're the assistant manager of community outreach, right? So, give us a snapshot of what a day looks like for Jenny. What are you doing from the time you clock in to the time you clock out?
Okay. So I'm the voice of the water and sewer department here in the city of Port St. Lucie. So it's the utility systems department. So I do everything from internal communications. I put together our employee newsletter. We have over 300 employees in our department. So that's kind of a way we can kind of keep track of what everybody's doing. So between internal communications, I onboard new employees as they come in. And then also I externally communicate. So I put out customer e-newsletters. We host lunch and learns. Like this Friday, for instance, I will have a booth at a community event giving away, utility systems related items and information. So stuff like that. So I'm sort of the voice. I'm the point of contact for reaching folks in the utility systems department.
Interesting. It's because I know community outreach. You're talking to the community, but you also said internal. So what's that? Give me the quick and dirty behind that internal newsletter. And like 300 employees, you're trying to get a message, a tone, a energy, a vibe out to them. What what goes through your mind when you're sitting down, you got a blank sheet in front of you and cranking out that internal newsletter?
Oh, it's a template, believe me. So I've been doing it for a couple years now. I've been in this department for about 7 years. So it's changed, it's evolved, but we're coming up on January, so I have a new look. But it's maybe 7 pages long, but it's a sort of a message from the director, which kind of sets the tone for everything else. But it's kind of news and information, so it's also accolades. This person just received their A operator's license, so it's congratulations, it's work anniversaries, it's birthdays, it's stuff like that, just so we all kind of know what's going on. We don't get to see each other all the time, so it's nice
Sure.
to just kind of keep up with everybody. And then we also include like open positions. Sometimes, folks, we have a lot of divisions within our department. So if there's opportunities for somebody to transfer to another division or a promotion, things like that. So just opportunities within our department too.
Okay. And is there a different tone you use from the internal newsletter to the external?
I'm more cheerleady, if you will. I'm more of a hey
Okay.
guys, lots of like exclamation points. It's more
Yeah.
informal when I'm communicating internally. Um, Being with the city of Port St. Lucie, being a government entity, not a lot of exclamation points. It's more of a more sharing of information for the public, whereas I get to show a little more of my personality internal, like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because I do a newsletter for my local APWA chapter, and I'm always trying to figure out like who am I talking to? Is this people inside APWA who are like my peers, or like the community, the general public, like trying to
Right.
educate people about public work? So it's always that battle of like, should I overshare, undershare, because these people already know, or like
Depends on your audience. It really does. It's going to be different, right? No matter who you're talking
yeah.
to. So
Yeah, sure. And water and sewer, how did you land in that department, so to say? Did you come off of a combination truck and say, hey, I want to do more communication instead of, leaning over a shovel?
no, that's not at all what I did. I joke, my name's Jenny, right? So I Forrest Gumped my way here is what I say. I sort
Uh,
of zigzagged and to land in this department. So my background is journalism. I was a videographer. That's what I went to school for. I worked in local news. I ended up leaving local news. I taught TV production at a high school for a minute and then went back to news, left news, went to government, which is where I've been since then. So I've been with the city for 15 years now, but I started off in the communications department as a videographer. Our public information officer left. So I sort of started to step into that role and sort of fill in. Well, ultimately, I moved into that position, which was wonderful, but I learned on the job. So, when you represent a city, you have to know everything about everything, all the different departments. We have a humongous city and we have over 1,000 employees total. So it's a lot going on. So this particular position came open in utility systems, and I thought, wow, how awesome would it be to get to focus on just one thing, just one department. I could become the expert in just one department.
Yeah.
So here we are 7 years later. I'm still no expert in this field, but everything I've learned has absolutely been from my coworkers. When I first came, I knew nothing. I knew that water came out of the faucet, but I never considered where it came from. I knew that when you flush the toilet, it went away. Well, now I know where away is. I've seen it. I've been there. So I really knew nothing, but I knew the communication sides of things because I had that teaching experience. Short as it was, I still had it, and I knew that I knew how to communicate. I knew how to teach. I knew how to get information out. It just came with a lot of learning on the job of like, okay, what exactly am I communicating? I need to learn this stuff too. So it's really been, I've really leaned heavily on my coworkers who have helped me really learn the industry. So it's all been in-house.
And one thing you said, which is resonates because I'm a videographer also. So you do video, I do video.
Yeah.
Give me some of your how are you using video to kind of get the message out in the most, I guess, the best way? Because again, I know what video is and like how to do it, but like, how do you approach it? And then what makes the most sense for like video to get to the community and also video internally? How are you harnessing it to make the place more efficient?
So I'm very lucky. Because video hurt my back. I still have back problems. When I first started, I was a 35-pound camera, tripod, fanny pack with batteries. It takes a toll on my body. Yeah. So I'm very lucky. I don't shoot video anymore. When I first came over to this department, because that's what I knew. That was the language I spoke. So I did a lot of videos sort of just overviewing each division because it helped me understand better.
I love it.
Because in the news, when you cover a news story, you go there with fresh eyes. You don't really know what's going on. You have to learn as you go. So it was helpful for me to understand each division better. But I got away from that. Like I said, I came from the communications department. They have a team of videographers where that is their job. So I don't shoot anymore. They did downsize, and I did get a little camera, and I did it for the first couple of years I was here, but I work really closely with the communications department. So if we do have an idea for a video, like a welcome video for new customers, that kind of thing, I'll work with them. Now I do more of the writing of the script, sort of the producing, if you will, versus the actual physical shooting and editing of the video. But they're great to work with. And like I said, we've done sort of internal videos with them, and then the external videos that go out we just had a free chlorination program, which people, that's it's kind of complicated and things like that. So we worked with communications to get like video messaging and things out there so folks knew what was going on. So.
Okay. I like it. So you're more on the production side. Do you use ChatGPT to help script anything using AI yet?
No, Grammarly is about as close as I get. I go to Grammarly frequently, but I haven't really delved into, and I actually work in Canva quite a bit.
Oh, Canva's a cheat code. It's like, if you don't use Canva, because granted, like I used to make flyers and stuff for my church, Rotary Club, and you would literally sit there with a blank sheet looking at you. And that blank sheet, that's daunting. Ooh. Talk about moments where it's like 10 p.m. You're like, I got to get this done tomorrow, and it's blank. But with Canva, it's like pre-filled. It's got templates, like somebody's done it before. Like you just steal it and put your stuff into it. Oh,
what's so funny about those templates, though? As much as I start with a template, by the time I'm done with it, it looks totally, completely different. But you need a place to start.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. But they have, if I need a picture of something and I can't quite find what I'm looking for, they have it sounds like a promotion for Canva, so apologize, but they have a function where you can just say, I need a water bear, wearing roller skates, and you put it, and it'll generate several different options. It's crazy. So it's cool.
Like, is this my job? Like,
I know.
All right, so let's say a high schooler's, one of your old students, they're like, hey, Jenny, what skill set should I pick up to be successful at what you're doing today? What would that one skill set be?
Well, in my role, it's the communication side of things. It's the PR side of things. Like I said, I have the news journalism background, which is sort of like PR adjacent. But I've been so fortunate. I'm very active member of the Florida Public Relations Association. So that's where my professional development comes into play. That's where I continue to learn and continue to get educated, on this profession. So if you want to be in a role like this, you don't necessarily need to, just like me, you don't need to be an industry expert, but I've also seen other departments where they do have an industry expert from within, and then they give them that professional development to acquire those communication skills. So it can kind of go either way. It kind of just depends, I think, on what you want to do.
Okay, makes sense. All right, story time. I need a story from Jenny. When something went wrong under your watch, what you did to fix it, and then what lessons you learned from it to apply to your future career.
Okay. So City of Ports, I thought about this. I'm glad I got the pre-screening, because this was a tough one for me, and it still is, but I'm going to share it with you all. So City of Port St. Lucie is growing like crazy. Just house. They're just no more trees, just house everywhere. So there's a ton of construction. There's a ton of contractors. Sometimes, for whatever reason, and it's accidental, they never do it intentionally, but we just had a tremendous amount of contractors boring down into the ground and hitting our water lines. So it happened, it just seemed like every week there was a new one. But, when something like that happens, you have to issue a precautionary 48-hour boil water notice. Once you hit a line, now it's open to possible infiltration, things like that. So no problem. We've done a million of those, and I send out the notifications, and, our folks go out and do door hangers and things like that. But in a particular part of town, it was thousands of people were affected, and it was really tough. It happened overnight, so people are getting up in the morning. That was tricky to get the word out anyway. It was complicated on the front end to distribute the information, and we do robocalls, and there's a lot of like charter schools. And we were literally individually calling principals. We had, between us and communications, we had people on the ground, we had people knocking on doors. Just to let folks know, hey, this happened.
Yeah.
You're going to experience low water pressure, and also this precautionary boil water notice. So after 48 hours, the repairs were made, but our lab still is running tests to make sure that now the water is okay for use. I was getting calls from a communications department. They were getting calls from the news. People were anxious to start using their water again after 2 days. And I said, yeah, well, I looked at my watch. I said, yeah, it's actually been over 48 hours. So yeah, you could tell them to. The problem was I did not confirm with the lab that final round of results was all. Now it was, fortunately, but it makes me sick to think you have such power in the water distribution. It was really, so that will never happen again. So we have systems in place now where it's not just Jenny going, yeah, 48 hours, you're good. You have to have levels of confirmation to make that call. That is not my call to make. So so.
No, that's interesting, because the chemists kind of dictate if it's good to go or not, but they don't get the word out. The PR, the communications people get it out. And it's like, if they don't play nice in the sandbox, which they're kind of two polar opposites of like thought processes, but like they working together benefits the community. And I could see how that could be an issue, not just in your situation.
It was a misfire on my part, and I should have absolutely confirmed. And again, my instinct was, well, yeah, it's great. I haven't seen anything else come in. Everything has been fine. Everything is coming back as it should. So again, I just assumed, and we know what happens when you assume, but it makes me sick to think what the repercussions could have been had it not been okay. It's a serious business, water distribution and providing water for our folks. That will not happen ever again.
And then you talked about schools, which is a good point, because you'll get 500 kids at a school, and I think it was a couple months ago, there was a styrene issue with some school, and and all the kids got sick. You know, like there was a contractor doing some work on a reline up the street. All the kids got, like all of them, like whoever drank the water got sick, which is a big deal. You don't think about that. You think of going home to home to home and telling the residents, but if a school doesn't know, that could be 400 potential points of issues with.
Absolutely. But
Yeah.
businesses too. Think about a coffee shop.
That's true also. Yeah.
So it hurts your business as well. I mean, we also have to, like, if there's a dialysis facility, that's another situation, because they cannot, I mean, they have their own treatment process, but if there's anything that happens on that, I mean, medical facilities, things like that, I mean, you kind of take water for granted, but with a big break like that, I mean, it affected, oh my goodness, thousands of residents, and then tons of businesses too. So it was a mess. It was a mess.
What's the population of Port St. Lucie?
I think we're up over 250,000 now.
Okay.
We're humongous. And it's funny, it's a city it's the biggest city you've never heard of.
Never heard of it. Yeah.
We don't particularly have a downtown. Whenever it was established in the 60s, it was meant to be sort of just a residential community, and it has just grown and grown and grown. And to try to retrofit a downtown, is tough. So but people live here, people work here. I mean, there's a lot to offer here, but it's growing like crazy. I think
where's most. Is it everybody coming down from New York, that area?
Every which way they're coming up. They're coming up from South Florida, and they're coming down from all the other states.
Wow. So, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. All right. So tell me how Jenny keeps showing up better and better every week, every month, every year. What's your personal and professional development regimen like?
Well, I mentioned Florida Public Relations Association, which has been just so wonderful. I'm very active in our local Treasure Coast chapter, so I serve on the board. I actually serve on the program chair this year. So we have a professional development meeting every month. I get a speaker to come in. So at least once a month, I'm doing something where I'm learning more about the public relations field. But then I'm also a member of the Florida section American Waterworks Association. So I get kind of my PR stuff from that group, and then I get my industry stuff from the other group. But I love a lunchtime webinar. It's my favorite. So I do at least, I would say at least 2 to 3, some kind of webinar or something.
Really?
Okay.
And are you finding these, and selfishly, are you finding these through your associations, or are you just going on Google and typing in like water, sewer, webinar, PR?
My LinkedIn page is wonderful. That's the biggest resource. But I know kind of everything that's going on with FPRA just because of my involvement. But no, I sign up for every newsletter. I just signed up for another one with Axios HQ. So they do a lot with smart brevity about just writing that email and then trimming 20% off. So like saying very clearly, which is fewer words. That's my new thing. So everything that they have downloadable PDFs, I have a whole binder I've started with just information I've gathered from them. I like to just have resources around me, for inspiration, because it's just me doing this job here. It's just me. I don't have a team. I don't have folks under me. I work with communications, but they're in a whole separate building. They're a whole separate department. So I kind of feel like an army of one at times. So anything I can do to learn and just be better, and to keep getting better and keep growing.
Sure. How does Jenny decompress? It sounds like you got a lot going on, and sometimes you got to step away from it. What does stepping away look like for Jenny?
We have some really cool breweries by my house. So we go to a lot of like craft breweries and things like that. We listen to a ton of live music. There's a lot of live music here. I work in Port St. Lucie, but I live in the next city north, which is Fort Pierce. So we've got a cute downtown, and there's live music. I mean, every day you can find something to go listen to. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff.
Okay. Speaking of music, I see Tupac Shakur looking at me. Is there a story behind that?
Yes. Yes.
Never thought I'd see Tupac Shakur at a desk, but go for it.
Well, so it's an acronym. So like I said, I'm program chair of Florida Public Relations Association, and we had a speaker back in September named Justin Sikora. So he is very high up, senior communications executive with Darden Restaurants. And he came in and talked to us about storytelling, and this is the formula that he uses.
Okay.
We love acronyms and like
Oh
wordplay.
yeah.
Like
Oh
we're
yeah.
all
Oh, yeah.
wordsmiths, right? So anything to get us to remember. But yes, he gave these away to everybody who attended.
I love it.
He sits on my desk, yeah. So he's my reminder of just those points hitting home. When you're telling a
Sure.
story, when you're trying to convey info.
Yeah.
So,
Apologies for creeping around your office, by the way.
well, no, like I said, it's my
All
guy.
right. What would you say is the biggest misconception about your position? Let's say I asked somebody, I said, what does Jenny do for the community? What does she do for Port St. Lucie? What would they get totally wrong in answering that question?
I don't know that they know I exist, quite frankly. We have 93,000 customers. So we've got a lot of folks who really don't even know that this is a position, that this is a job. I didn't know this was a position until I got it. So I think it's tough with so many customers like that. You really have to get your messaging out in all different directions on all platforms. There's not one magic bullet. You don't just put it in the newspaper and everybody knows. People get their information a ton of different ways. So I think it's, like I mentioned, we did a free chlorination program over the summer. So you put it out in all directions, and we did a lot of preparation. This is coming, this is coming, this is coming. But then you still have folks who go, I had no idea this was happening. So it's tough. You're not going to reach every single person to get them that information. But I think some folks might say, well, they don't have a person who just gets information out. I think it's just hard. I don't know that and as much as I go to public events, and as much as we host like lunch and learns every quarter, we host tours of our facilities and things like that, I just still don't think people are even aware. So that's my job, is to help, make people understand, what we're doing here, and give them the opportunities to learn from us.
Sure. And what's been some of the successes in communicating with multiple generations? Because you have the boomer generation, they're retiring, or even better, they're in your community, and they're not on Instagram, they're not on
Right.
they're on Facebook, but they don't check it all day every day like some of us do. And then you have your Gen Zers, they don't like Facebook, they have TikTok, they want to see Jenny dance. So how do you connect with both sides of that?
So like I mentioned, the lunch and learns, that is for our folks. It's in the middle of the day on a Friday. It's free lunch, and they get to sit for an hour and listen to our panel of experts talk about a different topic. So that I'm seeing, and that's actually a pretty good mix. But for me, the younger kids, that's what I really, really am passionate about. So I'm Water Woman, literally cape, gauntlets, shiny pants, boots. I created this character a couple years ago now. Because I was putting out education information, and these kids have seen my act. I go to a ton of schools, I do a ton of presentations, and I was talking to my husband about I need something different, and I was laboring over it. And he said, Jenny, it's you. You're the hero. Like, it's you. Make So now it's the Jenny Show. He said, just make it about you. So I am Water Woman, and I have an activity book. I have stickers. I make appearances. The kids see me as an actual superhero. It's amazing. And I thought, gosh, I bought these shiny pants on Amazon. Like, who knew? But it's the way you go. But we talk a lot about water conservation and things like that. But I figure it starts with these kids, because when I was growing up, I was born in the 70s. But when I was growing up, it was all about seatbelts, right? Like, people were not buckling up. So I got that messaging in school, like, buckle up for safety, buckle up for safety. So I'd go home and yell at my mom in the car for not having her seatbelt on, but I was getting it from school and then bringing it home. So I thought, what a good way to kind of bridge that knowledge gap if you get in with the kids. But the kids are so good now. I mean, they learn about recycling and water conservation. I mean, they're in it. They really are. It's amazing. So I'm not giving them anything that's particularly new, but I'm trying to help them create habits at home, turning the faucet off when they brush their teeth, really looking for opportunities to save water and not waste it. You're doing the dishes, so they have the water running, stuff like that. So, but that's my passion. I love, love, love that. The grown-ups like the Water Woman stuff too, but I save that for the kid. I save that for the kid. So they think it's cool. My daughter is 12. So she's sort of my coolness gauge. So she tells me when it stops being cool. And so far, she's in 7th grade, and she's like,
Okay.
"You're still cool, but I'll let
Okay.
you know."
Good for
I
you.
still
'Cause
like it. Yeah.
my daughter's turning 3 soon, and I'm not cool anymore. It's weird. Like, yeah, what did I do wrong?
Nothing. It's a phase. You'll get
Okay,
back.
okay.
You'll get it back. Maybe get a cape and the shiny pants and the boots.
No shiny pants for me.
No.
All right, let's say Jenny's commissioned to put up a billboard, and this billboard is in the most trafficked area of Port St. Lucie. What ask of your community in regards to water and sewer would you put on this billboard?
Stop flushing wipes.
The usual, yeah.
But the thing says they're flushable. Yes. And what I always say is lots of things are flushable. A $20 bill is technically flushable. My wedding ring, technically flushable, but it's not biodegradable. It's the magic of marketing. They use these words, but it's not, it's accurate. It's accurate. However, those wipes don't break down. They don't break down. Just before, as March and April of 2020, COVID, right, spreading, some of our folks in the sewer division said, hey, toilet paper is hard to find. We're going to see an influx of wipes. We got to do our best to get ahead of it. And they called it. I mean, people were using whatever they could find. Yeah, it was a disaster. It really wreaked havoc. You couldn't find toilet paper anywhere.
Yeah. No, I remember the outage. And my wife is like, hey, can you grab some toilet paper coming home? I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, wait, there's none. She's like, yeah, everybody's taking it. I'm like, why?
So people turned to those flushable wipes, which they're wonderful. However, just don't flush them. Throw them away. Don't flush them. There was a photo, it didn't quite go viral, but man, it got a lot of engagement on social media. We had a photo of a clogged pipe at one of our booster pump stations, and we've got one of our guys is just holding up this just massive wad of wipes and rags and just all these different things. People flush things that you just wouldn't believe. I mean, they find toys. I mean, I think it's kids like to play and make things disappear, and but I mean, just wild stuff, just clothing and socks and dish rags, and it's like I don't know how it didn't clog on your end, number one. I can't believe it made it this far, but all of that stuff just gets thrown in the dumpster. It gets removed from all that sewage coming in. It literally just goes to the landfill. So like, let's take out the middleman and just throw those wipes away. You can use them, just throw them away. My goodness. So, but you've got stuff from the kitchen sink too, your fats, oil and grease. Once that comes into play and you've got all these other things in the system, I mean, it's just a mess. It's just a mess. So that's my billboard. Stop flushing wipes. Wipes clog pipes. That's it. We've got bumper stickers on our fleet of vehicles that say wipes clog pipes.
As you should.
Yeah.
What would you say, since you've been out with operators, and you're out in the field from time to time, and you talk to the community, let's say the whole city's listening to this, and the question that somebody poses is, what's the most impactful pat on the back for your operators out in the field right now? Like, what would that kiss on the lips of a thank you be to your, coworkers out in the field from the community?
I think just to acknowledge that they're doing their jobs. Like I said, I was one of those folks where I would just turn on the faucet and never consider the team of people it takes to bring that water to you. And water taste is really up to your own personal taste buds, right? So
it's subjective,
It varies subjective, and I get it 100%. But whenever I onboard new employees, I make them do like the Pepsi challenge. I have 2 cups of water in front of them. One is bottled water and one is our tap water. And 9 times out of 10, they can tell the difference. But I explain to them that, the bottled water companies answer to the Food and Drug Administration, which is a whole different set of rules, laws, and guidelines and things than we do. We answer to the Environmental Protection Agency, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. We have very strict things that we have to meet. And we also have 1,200 miles of distribution system to get that water to all of our residents, whereas that bottled water, you don't. you treat it, because we treat it the
That's
same way.
true.
It's reverse osmosis. So if you look at any bottle,
Yeah.
I don't have any because I don't drink bottled water. I'm a tap water gal all the way.
Yeah.
But if you look at a bottle of water, it'll say treated by reverse osmosis, purified with minerals. That's exactly how we treat our water. But the difference is we have that distribution system. You have to put things in the water to protect the pipes that water
Yep.
flows through. So
Yep.
that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people. I just want people to understand, I don't like the tap water. I don't like the way it tastes. I buy a special other system, or I only buy bottled water, and it hurts me. I understand. But I think, like you said, the kiss on the lips would be just to acknowledge that our water is perfectly safe to drink, that we work. And when I say we, I mean the folks, the operators, they work so hard and they take such pride in it. How can you not drink their water? They're so proud
Yeah.
of it. That's
Yeah.
my thing. I wish we could tell that story more and really talk, and the operators too, on the wastewater side of things too, because there's a treatment process there too, and they work. I mean, just that these jobs are not for everyone. It takes a very special person to be in this industry. I think no matter what
Yeah.
side of it you're on, it's a lot, and it's
Yeah.
without it, what would we do?
That's
It's
true.
so important,
Yeah. Yeah. What does a win look like for you in your position? You get a newsletter out on time, you save the day with a smoke signal going out. So how
Yeah.
does Jenny know she's doing good in her position?
So when I talk to kids, I measure their learning gains, because when you go in to give a presentation, now I'm the rock star, right? I say all the potty words. We get to talk about, what you do flush and what you don't flush. I have a game called Toilet Twister. I mean, we get into it. The kids love me, but I don't want to just go and get the kids riled up for a half hour and then leave. And
Yeah.
you have to measure that they learned something. So when you first go in, you give them a little piece of paper. Well, I do, with 3 questions. And these are like the 3 things I really want to hit home with them. And the point is that they shouldn't know any of the answers. So at the end, after they've heard my presentation, I quiz them again, right? And I ask them the same 3 questions. The point is that now they'll have all those answers. So I can take that with me and then measure their learning gains. And my learning gains are good. They're really good. So I like having that data that I can point to and go, no, I'm making a difference. These kids, they get it. They get it. They learned something from me today. To me, that is really, 'cause like I said, I've tried it with the adults, and it's a little trickier. I see people with their paper erasing as they learn the answers, and they're crossing things out. I'm like, no, don't, right? Kids are so used to being tested and quizzed, they get it. It's the adults I struggle with to chart their learning gains, but I'm working on
Yeah.
something new for this year.
All
Yeah.
right. So pesky adults.
We're set in our ways, and
Yeah.
the last thing you want to do is take a test,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
working
All
on
right. I always like to leave a space on the show for you to thank mentors you had along your journey. And then also I want you to give a word of inspiration and motivation to your fellow communication industry counterparts.
mentor, like I said, when I got here, I very heavily relied on my coworkers, and I went to the plants. I went to the operators. Um, I became really close. We went through some like professional development training with a couple of the operators, but there's one person in particular named Dan Burdett, who is he was our chief operator at our water treatment plant, the reverse osmosis and the lime softening treatment plant. Um, he now oversees the operations. We have a huge water quality project, so he oversees the maintenance and operations of that project. So that project is so big. Reporters call and ask about it. Like it's top of mind. It's part of our strategic plan. It's very top of mind. So I go to him a lot still for, hey, can you give me those numbers again? He's so good at explaining things to me. Me coming in as a non-industry person, the way he explained things, it helps me better understand, because that's my job. I need to understand it so then I can explain it. And I need the real elementary school version. But
Yeah.
he gave that to me, and I called him 3 or 4 times last week. And he reassures me, Jenny, I'm here for you, like whatever you need. So that him in particular, he has just been fantastic with,
Nice.
and he's explained things to me because it's complicated. this is a complicated industry. So
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
certain just science angles that wait, tell me again. I know you've told me 17 times, but just give me one more time. But he's so good. Fluoride, for instance, is something folks always want to know. How much fluoride is in your water? Because not everybody's in favor of that. So he explained to me, he's like, picture a million pennies on the floor. Now throw in a dime. That's how much fluoride's in the water. And I thought, wow, what a great visual. People understand that. People can see that. So it's stuff like that he's just been so good with me about explaining that kind of stuff. So it just helps me better understand. So he's been phenomenal. Yeah.
Okay. And then your industry communication counterparts, they're in the trenches right now. They're fighting the same battles you're fighting.
Okay.
What do you say to keep them motivated, keep them inspired?
You don't know it all, right? So keep, right? You'll never be the perfect person in this position, but you really just take advantage of your resources. There's so much out there. There's so much industry knowledge. This is such a large industry. I've connected with, even within Florida, I have counterparts, PR people in other utilities, which is rare. There's not a lot of utilities have a me, at least that I've been in Florida.
It's new to me. Yeah.
Found one. There's one in Kissimmee. So I went through her onboarding program because I wanted to steal ideas for my onboarding. It was wonderful. But there's so many resources out there. And I find that people in this industry, we like to talk shop and we like to talk about, I've toured a goal of mine. I think I did 3 or 4 last year. I just call up utilities and say, hey, can I just come see what you guys are doing? I went to Cocoa Beach. Just so different. If I know somebody, if I have an in, just call and say, hey, can I get a tour of your plant? I would just love to see how you guys do things. Just take advantage of your resources. And LinkedIn is a wonderful tool. You can connect with, people from all different places and, kind of build that rapport. But like I said, I think we all just like talking about this stuff, So it's cool to have people in different places.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's say I'm coming to town and I text you ahead of time. I say, Jenny, where can I go to get the best burger in Port St. Lucie? Where are you sending me?
Like I said, as much as I work in Port St. Lucie, I live in Fort Pierce. So we're going to go to Fort Pierce for our burger. I mentioned.
Oh, man, we got to do Port St. Lucie. That's where you work at.
I know. I pack my lunch every day. I'm sorry. I'm not contributing to the community here. But I mentioned so it's not terribly far.
Okay.
It's close.
Right.
There's a particular food truck, and they're called Point Break Kitchen, and they're mostly parked at Pierced Cider, which is a craft cidery. So instead of craft beer, they have craft ciders, all different flavors. It's amazing. But this particular food truck, they do all different kinds of things, but they have a smash burger, which is huge around here. I didn't know what it was, but I'm seeing them pop up everywhere. But it's almost like a grilled cheese.
Yeah.
But she uses several different kinds of cheeses. So there's like mozzarella and there's this and that, but just that compressed, that's the best. And the bread's buttery on the outside. That would be that's where we would go.
Sure. Well, Jenny, thank you for hopping on the podcast. Thank you for sharing your wealth of information and knowledge with us. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. Jenny, any final words before we get out of here?
Just let's get together on LinkedIn.
Sure.
I love to make connections, to hear from folks. I just like connecting with other people from other industries, like I said, because then I can learn about, what they're doing in other places. It's so easy to get in your own world and not really see anything else, but there's just so much to learn out there. So yes, find me on LinkedIn.
And that's what I love about Public Works is you guys don't compete with each other. On the private side, there's competition because you're trying to get market share and all that. You can go to 50 different people and tell them your 50 different trade secrets and it wouldn't hurt what you're doing at all.
Right. We're not selling shoes. It's us. It's us where there's nothing, right?
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of options out there. So
yeah. Well, Jenny, thank you for hopping on the podcast. Again, all the listeners, share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. This has been the Public Works Podcast, and thank you for tuning in.